The lonely teacher didn't believe in love, until the giant cowboy growled, "I'm claiming you tonight." Emma woke before the sun that morning, the same way she always did. The soft light from the window touched the pale walls of her small house, and the quiet of the countryside wrapped around her like a blanket. She lay still for a moment, listening to the distant sound of birds and the wind moving through the trees. This quiet was her world. It was safe. It was simple. And most of all, it was lonely. She rose from her bed and walked across the wooden floor, her steps slow and careful. In the kitchen, she made a cup of tea and stood by the window, watching the narrow road that led into town. Every morning she watched that road, not because she expected something to change, but because it reminded her that the world was still moving, even when her life felt like it was standing still. Emma was a teacher at the small local school. The town was not big, and everyone knew everyone. The children loved her. They said she had a gentle voice and kind eyes, and that she always listened when they spoke. For Emma, the classroom was the one place where her heart felt full. The laughter of the children, their questions, their dreams, and their small victories gave her a reason to smile every day. But when the school bell rang in the afternoon and the children ran off to their homes and families, Emma's world became quiet again. She walked back to her house, carrying her books and papers, knowing that no one was waiting for her inside. She told herself she was fine with that. She told herself she did not need anything more. Her past had taught her to be careful. Years ago, she had trusted someone deeply. She had believed in promises and kind words. When those promises were broken, she felt like a part of her had gone silent. Since then, she had decided that love was something beautiful, but not something meant for her. It was safer to care from a distance, to keep her heart behind strong walls. That morning, she dressed in her simple blue dress and tied her hair back. She picked up her bag and locked the door behind her. The air was cool, and the sky was painted with soft colors as the sun rose higher. The road to the school passed by open fields and old fences. Emma walked slowly, enjoying the calm, unaware that this day would bring someone new into her life. At the edge of town, near the old general store, a truck was parked. It was large and dusty, like it had traveled a long way. A tall man stood beside it, speaking with the store owner. Emma noticed him without meaning to. He was hard to miss. He had broad shoulders and a strong build, and he wore a simple hat pulled low over his eyes. She tried not to stare, but something about him caught her attention. He looked tired, like someone who carried more than just a bag or a suitcase. When he turned, their eyes met for a brief moment. Emma felt her heart beat faster, not out of fear, but out of surprise. She quickly looked away and continued walking. She told herself it was nothing, just a stranger passing through. This town saw new faces sometimes, and most of them did not stay long. At school, the day went on as usual. The children worked on their lessons, and Emma moved between the desks, offering help and gentle words. But her mind wandered more than it normally did. Every now and then, the image of the tall stranger by the store came back to her. She wondered who he was and why he had come to their quiet town. During lunch, she sat with her fellow teachers. They talked about the weather, the school repairs, and the town events. Someone mentioned that a new ranch hand had arrived at the old ranch outside town. They said he was strong and quiet and that he had already fixed a broken fence and helped move some heavy equipment. Emma listened but did not say anything. She had a feeling she knew who they were talking about. When the school day ended, she walked back through town. The sun was lower now, and the streets were calm. As she passed the diner, she saw the same tall man sitting inside, alone at a corner table. He was drinking coffee and looking out the window like he was watching the world but not really part of it. For a moment, Emma slowed her steps. She did not know why. Something about him felt familiar, even though they had never spoken. She thought about going inside, but the idea made her nervous. She was not used to talking to strangers, especially not ones who made her heart feel strange and restless. She kept walking. That evening, Emma sat at her small table grading papers. The quiet of the house pressed in around her. She tried to focus on the neat rows of writing from her students, but her thoughts kept drifting. She wondered what it would be like to be someone else, someone who did not go home to silence every night. She shook her head and told herself not to think like that. This was her life, and she had chosen it. It was peaceful. Outside, the wind picked up, and the sky darkened. Emma lit a small lamp and continued working. Then she heard a sound she did not expect. A soft knock at the door. Her heart jumped. No one ever came to her house in the evening. She stood slowly and walked to the door. For a moment she hesitated, her hand resting on the handle. Then she opened it. The tall stranger stood there, his hat in his hands. Up close he looked even bigger, but his eyes were calm and careful. "I'm sorry to bother you," he said, his voice low and steady. The ranch owner said you might be able to help me. I'm new here, and I'm trying to find the old school records. I was told you know your way around town better than most. Emma blinked, surprised. She had not expected that. She took a breath and nodded. I can try to help, she said softly. He smiled, just a little, like he was not used to doing it. Thank you. My name is Jack. Emma, she replied. They stood there for a moment, the quiet stretching between them. Emma felt the same strange feeling she had felt that morning, only stronger now. She did not know why, but she sensed that this simple meeting was the start of something she was not ready for, something that might change the careful, quiet world she had built for herself. As Jack thanked her again and turned to leave, Emma watched him walk down the path. The night felt different now, like the air itself was holding a question she did not yet know how to answer. She closed the door and leaned against it, her heart beating faster than usual. For the first time in a long while, she felt something she thought she had lost. The next morning, Emma woke with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. The encounter with Jack the previous evening lingered in her mind. She kept thinking about his calm eyes, the quiet strength in his voice, and the feeling she couldn't quite explain. She poured herself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching the town wake up. The sun rose slowly over the fields, casting long shadows on the road, and for a moment everything seemed brighter, though it wasn't entirely clear why. At school, Emma tried to focus on her students, guiding them through their lessons, correcting homework, and helping them with reading. But her thoughts kept drifting back to Jack. She wondered what kind of life he had, what had brought him to this quiet town, and why he seemed both strong and gentle at the same time. She reminded herself that she didn't know him yet, that he was a stranger. And yet her heart felt light in a way it hadn't felt for a long time. By noon, Emma finished her lessons and walked to the small diner in town to grab a quick lunch. As she entered, she noticed Jack sitting at the same corner table, his hat tipped forward as he sipped his coffee. This time he looked up and caught her gaze. He gave a small, polite nod, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Emma felt her cheeks warm. She wasn't used to someone paying attention to her in this way, and it stirred feelings she had long ignored. She moved to a table near the window, close enough to see him clearly but far enough to feel safe. As she ate, she watched him quietly. Jack wasn't just sitting idly. He was writing something in a small notebook, occasionally glancing at the road outside. The lines of his face were calm but focused. Emma imagined him working on the ranch, doing hard physical labor and protecting the land he cared about. She could tell he was a man who had endured a lot in life, someone who didn't rely on others easily. After a few minutes, he stood and approached her table. "Mind if I join you?" he asked gently. Emma blinked, caught off guard. "Oh, sure," she replied, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. Jack sat down, placing his notebook on the table. There was a quiet confidence in the way he carried himself, but it wasn't intimidating. It was inviting. "I thought it might be easier to talk here," he said. "The ranch is busy, and I don't want to bother anyone at home." Emma nodded, sipping her tea. She wasn't sure why, but she felt comfortable with him. There was no rush, no pressure, just a quiet understanding that they could talk if they wanted to. "I wanted to thank you again for helping me last night," he said. "I didn't expect anyone to open their door for a stranger." Emma smiled lightly. "You seemed polite," she said. "And I know the town can be confusing for newcomers." He chuckled softly, a sound that made her heart flutter. "I've been through a lot of towns, but there's something different about this one. Maybe it's the quiet, or maybe it's people like you." Emma felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. She wasn't used to compliments, especially ones that felt genuine and thoughtful. She kept her smile small but didn't try to hide the way she was feeling. For the next hour, they talked. Jack shared small pieces of his past, how he had grown up on a ranch far away, the hard lessons he had learned about life and responsibility, and the loss he had faced that had made him independent and cautious. Emma listened, fascinated. She could see that behind his strong exterior was a man who had a tender heart and a deep sense of duty. In turn, Emma spoke about her life in the town. She talked about the school, the children, and the small joys and struggles of teaching. She didn't share everything about her past. Her trust had been broken once, and she wasn't ready to open all her walls, but she allowed herself to show a little. And Jack listened. He didn't interrupt or judge. He simply listened, offering a comforting presence. When lunch ended, Jack stood to leave. "I should get back to the ranch," he said, his eyes meeting hers. "But I hope we can talk again. I feel like we have a lot more to share." Emma felt her stomach twist, a mixture of nerves and hope. I'd like that," she said softly. As Jack walked away, Emma returned to her classroom, her mind buzzing. She couldn't explain why, but she felt something stirring in her heart. She had spent years believing love was not for her, that her life was meant to be quiet and safe. But now, with Jack, there was a spark, a possibility, that made her wonder if maybe, just maybe, she could allow herself to care again. Over the next few days, Jack became a more frequent presence in town. Emma would see him early in the morning, riding his horse along the edge of the fields, or in the afternoons, fixing fences and helping neighbors. He never acted as if he was trying to impress anyone, yet there was a strength and reliability in everything he did. Emma found herself watching him from her classroom window, curious and drawn to his quiet, steady presence. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in shades of gold and orange, Jack appeared outside her house. Emma had just finished preparing dinner, and the knock at the door startled her. She opened it to find him holding a basket of fresh vegetables from the ranch. "Thought you might like some," he said with a gentle smile. "I grow more than I need, and I wanted to share." Emma felt touched by the simple gesture. "Thank you, Jack." "That's very kind of you," she said, taking the basket. They stood for a moment, the quiet evening stretching between them. Emma felt her heart beat faster. She wanted to invite him in, to continue talking, but the fear of opening herself too much lingered. Jack seemed to sense her hesitation. "I won't stay long," he said softly. "I just wanted to make sure you had these, and, I wanted to see how you were." Emma nodded, smiling. There was something about his presence that felt safe, even though it made her feel emotion she had long buried. "I'm well," she replied, "and I appreciate this." As Jack walked back toward the road, Emma felt a strange pull in her heart. She realized that she looked forward to seeing him, to sharing moments of conversation, to simply being near someone who understood her in ways she hadn't expected. The next few days brought more small encounters. Sometimes Jack would pass by the school to ask how her students were doing. Sometimes he would wave from the fields as she walked home. Each encounter built a quiet connection between them, a trust that grew slowly and steadily. Emma found herself smiling more often, laughing at small jokes he made, and feeling a warmth she had almost forgotten. One afternoon, Emma walked through the town square and saw Jack helping a group of children fix a broken cart. He worked patiently, showing them how to handle tools and solve problems. The children looked up to him with admiration and curiosity. Emma watched, her heart swelling with a mix of admiration and something deeper she couldn't yet name. Later, as they walked side by side toward the diner, Emma found the courage to ask, "Jack, why did you come to this town?" He glanced at her, his eyes thoughtful. "I needed a fresh start," he said. "I wanted a place where I could work, help, and maybe find something worth caring about again." Emma's breath caught. She didn't reply immediately. The words resonated with her own unspoken feelings. She realized that maybe they were both searching for something similar, a sense of belonging, a chance to trust again, a quiet love that didn't demand perfection. Over time, their conversations grew longer. They shared dreams, fears, and small personal stories. Emma found herself confiding in Jack in ways she hadn't with anyone else. Jack, in turn, showed her patience and understanding, never pushing, never demanding, simply listening and offering gentle encouragement. One rainy afternoon, Emma and Jack found themselves sheltering under the awning of the diner. The town was empty, the streets slick with rain, and the air smelled fresh and clean. They watched the rain together in silence, feeling a comforting closeness. For Emma, this quiet moment was more powerful than any grand gesture. She realized that trust and love didn't always announce themselves loudly. They could grow slowly, softly, in the everyday acts of kindness and attention. As the rain eased, Jack turned to her with a small smile. "Emma, I know you've been through a lot, and I know it's not easy to trust again. But I hope, maybe, someday, you'll let yourself believe that love can be gentle and real." Emma felt her heart stir, a feeling both terrifying and exhilarating. She nodded softly, not saying anything more, because words felt unnecessary. The connection between them was already clear, growing stronger with each shared moment. That evening, as Emma returned home, she sat by the window and reflected on the past few days. Her life, once quiet and predictable, had begun to shift. She realized that Jack's presence had opened a door in her heart she thought had been locked forever. For the first time in a long while, she felt hope, a hope that maybe love could find her, even in the most unexpected way. She went to bed that night with a soft smile, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt for years. The world outside was dark and quiet, but inside her, a small spark of something new and wonderful was growing, and she knew, deep down, that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't yet imagine. The days that followed felt different for Emma. The quiet of her life was now filled with thoughts of Jack, thoughts she could not control, no matter how hard she tried. Every morning she would walk past the fields and hope to see him working on the ranch, his broad shoulders moving as he guided the horses or repaired fences. Each sighting brought a flutter of excitement she wasn't used to, and she had to remind herself that he was a person, not just an idea. Yet the pull she felt toward him was undeniable, and it frightened her as much as it delighted her. At school, Emma threw herself into her work. She wanted to keep busy, to avoid thinking too much about Jack, but it was impossible. Her students noticed her distraction. When a child would ask a question or need help with reading, she would catch herself staring off, imagining Jack's calm voice explaining something with patience and care. She shook her head and smiled at the students, hiding the storm of feelings inside. One afternoon after school had ended, Emma was walking home when she saw Jack on the road. He was fixing a small broken gate near the edge of the field, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the land. He looked up and saw her approaching. For a moment he hesitated, then gave a small wave. Emma felt her heart lift. She slowed her steps, not wanting to rush past him, and instead walked closer. "Hello?" she said softly. Jack put down the tools and smiled. "Hey, Emma. I didn't expect to see you here." I was walking home," she said, feeling a bit shy. "I thought I'd see the town from this side today." Jack nodded, studying her as if he wanted to remember every detail of her face. "I'm glad I ran into you," he said. "I was just finishing up here, but maybe we can walk a bit together." Emma hesitated, but then nodded. There was something comforting about his presence, something steady and reliable that made her feel safe. As they walked, the conversation flowed easily. They talked about small things, the weather, the changes in the town, the children at school, but between the words there was an unspoken connection growing stronger with every step. Jack told her a story about a horse he had cared for when he was younger. It had been sick and weak, and he had spent weeks nursing it back to health. Emma listened with rapt attention, picturing him patiently brushing the horse's coat, speaking softly to it as he worked. She could see the tenderness behind his rough exterior, and it made her heart ache in a way she hadn't felt for years. "I never knew you had such patience," she said softly, almost surprised at her own words. Jack smiled, a little embarrassed. "It's not always easy," he admitted, "but when you care about someone or something, you do what you can." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that in many ways, Jack was teaching her without even trying. He showed her that strength and gentleness could exist together, and that trust could grow slowly, carefully, if given a chance. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, they reached the edge of a small creek. The water reflected the colors of the sky, shimmering gently as it flowed over smooth stones. Jack stopped and looked at her, his expression thoughtful. "Emma," he said quietly, "I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I feel like we understand each other in ways I haven't experienced before." Emma's heart raced. She had felt the same thing, but hearing it from him made it real. She looked down at the ground, unsure of what to say. Words seemed inadequate, and yet she wanted to speak, to share her own feelings without fear. I feel the same," she admitted softly. "I've spent so long thinking love wasn't for me, but I think I was wrong." Jack's eyes softened, and he reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You don't have to rush, Emma," he said. "We can take this slowly. I just want to be here with you, if you'll let me." She nodded, feeling a tear slip down her cheek. It wasn't a tear of sadness, but of relief. Relief that someone understood her, that someone cared, that she could feel again without fear. Over the next few days, their bond continued to grow. Jack would often stop by the school to see how the children were doing, and Emma would sometimes walk to the ranch to help him with small tasks. She had never expected to enjoy manual labor, yet with Jack guiding her, it felt different. She laughed when she dropped a tool or got dirt on her clothes, and he would chuckle with her, patient and encouraging. One afternoon, Emma and Jack were fixing a small fence together. The sun was warm on their backs, and the fields stretched endlessly around them. Emma was struggling with a stubborn piece of wire when Jack came behind her, his hands steady and sure, showing her how to twist it properly. "You're getting better at this," he said, smiling. Emma laughed, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I guess I just needed a good teacher." Jack's smile widened, and for a moment they stood close, their hands brushing as they worked. Emma felt her heart beat faster. She realized that these moments, simple as they were, mattered more than she had imagined. She was learning to trust, to laugh, to feel again. That evening, as they walked back toward town, Jack spoke about his dreams. "I want to build something here," he said. A life that matters, not just for me, but for the people around me. And I want to share it with someone who cares. Emma felt a lump in her throat. The thought of someone wanting to share a life with her, of being valued and loved, was almost overwhelming. She wanted to say yes, to step forward, but a part of her remained cautious. I want that too, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack looked at her, his expression full of hope and understanding. Then we'll take it one step at a time, he said. No rush. No pressure. Just us, seeing where this goes. Days turned into weeks, and their connection deepened. Emma found herself anticipating Jack's visits, looking forward to his presence, and feeling a comfort she hadn't known in years. They shared quiet evenings on the porch, talking about their pasts, their fears, and their hopes for the future. They discovered small joys in the ordinary. A shared meal, a walk through the fields, a conversation by the fire. One evening, as the stars filled the sky and the town lay silent, Jack took Emma's hand. "Emma," he said softly, "I know love can be frightening. I know it can hurt if we're not careful, but I want to try with you. I want us to be honest, patient, and kind to each other." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She nodded, her heart full. "I want that too," she whispered. It was a quiet promise, unspoken but deeply felt. In that moment, Emma realized that love didn't have to be loud or dramatic. It could be gentle, patient, and steady, just like Jack. She had spent years hiding behind walls, but now, with him, she felt safe to let them down. Over the next few days, Emma and Jack continued to spend time together, building trust and understanding. They shared stories of their childhoods, laughed at small mistakes, and supported each other through moments of doubt. Emma found herself thinking about Jack when he wasn't around, imagining his smile, his voice, his steady presence. And she discovered that she didn't feel afraid anymore. She felt hope. One afternoon, a sudden storm swept through the town. Emma was walking home when the rain began to fall heavily, and she struggled to find shelter. Jack appeared seemingly out of nowhere, holding his coat over both of them. "Come on," he said, leading her to a small covered barn. "You can't walk in this alone." She felt a rush of gratitude and something deeper, a feeling of safety, of care, of connection. As they waited for the rain to pass, they talked quietly, their voices blending with the sound of the storm outside. Emma realized that moments like these, simple yet profound, were shaping her heart in ways she hadn't imagined. When the storm cleared, Jack walked her to her door. "Thank you," she said softly. "For everything." He smiled, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. "Always," he said simply. That night, Emma sat by her window, looking out at the dark fields. She thought about Jack, about the trust they had built, and about the possibility of love. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she could be happy, where her heart could be open, and where she could share her life with someone who truly cared. She closed her eyes and let herself feel hope that life could be brighter, warmer, and fuller than she had ever believed. And deep down, she knew that Jack was not just a passing presence in her life. He was someone who had already begun to change it, slowly, gently, but irrevocably. The days that followed felt lighter, yet Emma could sense a change in the air. She and Jack had grown close, their quiet routines entwining in ways that made her heart both hopeful and cautious. She had started trusting him in ways she never thought possible, letting him into her world bit by bit. Still, a small part of her remained wary. Life had taught her that happiness could be fragile, and she feared losing it if she allowed herself to care too deeply. One afternoon, as Emma walked through town, she noticed a stranger arriving at the edge of the main road. He was tall and imposing, dressed in worn clothes, with a look of urgency on his face. Emma recognized him instantly. She had seen similar men in Jack's past when he had briefly mentioned challenges from his previous life, the kind of people who tested his patience and strength. Her stomach tightened. She felt a twinge of worry she couldn't ignore. The next day, Jack appeared at the school looking serious. Emma noticed the shadow in his eyes, the tension in his movements. "Emma," he said softly, "I need to talk to you." They stepped aside, away from the children, who were absorbed in their lessons. Jack lowered his voice. "There's something from my past that has caught up with me," he explained. "It's nothing for you to worry about, but I wanted you to know. I don't want you to be afraid, but I also don't want to keep secrets from you." Emma felt a mix of fear and concern. She had trusted him, and now the reminder of the outside world's unpredictability made her heart ache. I understand," she said carefully. "But what does this mean? Is it dangerous?" Jack shook his head. "Not for you, I promise." but it could cause problems for the town if I don't handle it." He paused, looking at her with an intensity that made her heart race. "I have to face this, Emma. And I can't do it alone, but I also don't want to lose what we have." Emma's mind raced. She wanted to tell him to stay safe, to step back, but she also knew Jack was not someone who could ignore his responsibilities. "Then I'll trust you," she said finally, her voice steady despite the worry inside. "I know you'll handle it. Just be careful." Jack nodded, and a small, grateful smile touched his lips. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Your trust means more than you know." The following days brought tension and uncertainty. Jack worked tirelessly to resolve the issue, moving between the ranch, the town, and the outskirts where the trouble had begun. Emma found herself waiting for him each evening, her thoughts spinning with worry and anticipation. She worried not just for his safety, but for the future they were building together. One evening, Emma walked to the edge of town, hoping to catch a glimpse of Jack. She found him near the old barn, speaking quietly to a man who had clearly caused the disturbance. Jack's calm and steady voice carried over the soft sounds of the wind through the trees. Emma watched, impressed by his composure. He faced the situation head-on, but with patience and reason rather than anger. She realized that this was part of who he was, someone who confronted challenges without losing his heart. After the man left, Jack turned and saw Emma standing a few steps away. Relief softened his expression, and he walked toward her. "Emma," he said, voice warm despite the tension of the day. "I handled it. Everything is under control now." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. I was worried," she admitted. "I don't like seeing you in danger." Jack took her hands in his grip strong but gentle. "I know," he said, "and I appreciate your care. But you have to know that I would never let harm come to you or this town. That's why I face things directly." Emma nodded, her heart swelling with admiration. She realized that Jack's strength was not just physical. It was in his heart, his mind, and his sense of responsibility. She felt lucky to be a part of his life, even if it meant facing moments of fear and uncertainty. That night, as Emma returned home, she felt a mixture of relief and excitement. And the fear of the past was still present, but so was the undeniable bond between her and Jack. She realized that love was not always easy. It required courage, trust, and sometimes the willingness to face challenges together. Over the next week, Jack and Emma spent more time together, not just in small gestures, but in shared moments that deepened their connection. They repaired fences, tended to animals, and even cooked meals together. Each activity, no matter how ordinary, became an opportunity for them to learn about each other. Emma discovered that Jack had a dry sense of humor that made her laugh more than she had in years. Jack discovered Emma's quiet determination, her patience, and her unwavering care for the people around her. One afternoon, while working on a section of fence near the creek, Jack paused and looked at Emma. "You know," he said, "I never thought I'd find someone like you, someone who sees me for who I am, not just the strength I show." Emma blushed, unsure how to respond. I feel the same," she admitted softly. "I never believed in love again, but with you, I don't feel afraid." Jack stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Then let's face everything together," he said. "No secrets, no walls. Just honesty, trust, and care." For Emma, those words felt like a promise, a safe place in a world that had often been unpredictable. After, she realized that love was not about perfection, but about being present, being steady, and choosing each other even when life was difficult. Their bond continued to grow stronger, even as challenges arose. One day, a problem with the ranch required Jack to leave town for a few hours. Emma watched him ride off on his horse, feeling a pang of worry. But she also felt a deep trust that he would return safely, and that their connection was strong enough to withstand temporary separation. During his absence, Emma found herself reflecting on how much her life had changed since meeting Jack. The quiet loneliness she had felt for so long was replaced by anticipation, hope, and a warmth she had thought she would never feel again. She realized that opening her heart had been worth the risk, even with the fear that accompanied it. When Jack returned, the relief on both their faces was clear. They laughed softly, sharing a quiet moment of joy that felt like a reward for their patience and trust. Emma realized that love, even when tested by challenges, could grow stronger and more resilient. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Jack and Emma stood side by side on the porch of her home. The air was warm, and the town lay quiet around them. Jack turned to her, his expression serious but tender. "Emma," he said, "we've faced challenges already, and I know there will be more. But I want you to know that I'm here. For you, for us, for everything we're building together." Emma felt tears in her eyes, her heart full. "I know," she said softly, "and I'm here too. I trust you, Jack. I believe in what we have." They stood together in silence for a while, letting the moment settle between them. The world outside continued, but for Emma and Jack, this moment felt like a turning point. They had faced challenges, they had confronted fears, and they had chosen to trust each other. That night, Emma went to bed with a sense of peace she had not known in years. She realized that love was not just about joy and happiness, it was about courage, trust, and the willingness to face life together. She understood that Jack was not perfect, and neither was she, but together they could create something strong, lasting, and real. In the quiet of her room, she thought about all the days that had brought them to this point. From the first meeting by the store, to the small gestures of care, to the challenges they had faced together, every moment had built a connection that could not be easily broken. She felt gratitude, hope, and a deep sense of belonging. Emma finally allowed herself to imagine the future, not in grand, dramatic visions, but in simple, steady moments of shared life. Walking through the fields, tending to the animals, laughing together, and caring for each other in small, meaningful ways. She realized that this was what love could be: gentle, patient, and strong. And for the first time in a long while, Emma did not feel afraid. She felt ready to face life's challenges with Jack by her side. Ready to open her heart fully, knowing that trust and courage could create something beautiful. As the night deepened and the stars filled the sky, Emma lay in bed, thinking of Jack and the life they were beginning to build. She felt a warmth in her chest, a quiet strength, and a hope that had been missing for so long. She knew that no matter what challenges came, they would face them together, and that was enough to fill her heart with peace and anticipation. The days following the challenge from Jack's past passed with a quiet relief. The town was peaceful once more, and Jack's presence became even more comforting to Emma. She had spent so long alone believing that love was something distant and unattainable, yet here he was, steady and dependable, showing her that trust could be built slowly, and love could be real. Emma woke one morning to the soft light of dawn spilling through her window. The air smelled fresh, a mixture of dew and wildflowers from the nearby fields. She sat on the edge of her bed, thinking about how much her life had changed in the past weeks. Where there had once been routine and loneliness, now there was anticipation, laughter, and warmth. Her heart felt alive again, and she knew it was because Jack had entered her world. At school, the children noticed her lighter mood. They giggled more freely, smiled brighter, and approached her with the same excitement they always had. But Emma noticed she responded with an energy and joy that had been absent for a long time. The classroom was still her sanctuary, but it was now brighter, infused with the happiness she had discovered outside its walls. After school, Emma decided to take a walk through the fields, a place she and Jack often visited. She enjoyed the quiet, the tall grass brushing against her hands, and the way the wind carried the scent of earth and flowers. She hoped to see Jack tending to the ranch as he often did in the afternoons. As she walked, she noticed him near the creek repairing a fence. He looked up and waved, and Emma felt a smile stretch across her face. He was a man of few words, but his presence spoke volumes. She approached him, feeling a nervous excitement that had become familiar. "Good afternoon," she said softly. "Good afternoon," Jack replied, his voice warm and steady. He put down his tools and wiped his hands on his pants before walking toward her. "I was hoping to see you here," he said, smiling. Emma felt her heart skip a beat. "I wanted to come out for a walk," she admitted. "It's peaceful here, and I thought I might find you." Jack's smile widened. "I'm glad you did," he said. "It's better when we're together." They walked along the creek in comfortable silence, enjoying the rhythm of each other's steps and the sound of the water flowing over the rocks. It was a simple moment, yet it felt profound. Emma realized that love didn't need grand gestures or dramatic words. It could be found in quiet companionship, in trust, and in shared understanding. As they reached a small hill overlooking the town, Jack stopped and turned to her. "Emma," he said, his voice serious but gentle, "I want you to know how much you mean to me. I've spent a long time thinking I could handle life alone, but being with you has shown me something different, something better, something worth believing in." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She had spent so long guarding her heart, yet here was a man who had never asked her to change, never rushed her, and never judged her. Instead, he had been patient, kind, and unwavering in his care. "Jack," she whispered, "I feel the same. You've shown me that love can be gentle, steady, and real. I want to be with you." Jack reached for her hand, holding it firmly but gently. "Then let's do this together," he said. "No secrets, no walls, Just honesty, trust, and care. We'll face life side by side no matter what comes. Emma nodded, feeling a deep sense of relief and joy. The fears she had carried for so long seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence that they could face anything together. She realized that love wasn't about perfection or grand gestures. It was about presence, support, and the courage to trust again. Over the next few weeks, their bond grew stronger. They worked together on the ranch, tended the animals, and shared meals in the warm kitchen of Emma's home. They laughed at small mistakes, encouraged each other in moments of doubt, and found comfort in the simple joys of life. Each shared moment strengthened their connection, proving that love could thrive even in ordinary, everyday circumstances. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Jack and Emma sat on the porch, watching the town below. The air was warm, and the quiet of the countryside stretched around them. Emma leaned against Jack, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Do you remember when we first met?" she asked softly. Jack smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I do. I remember thinking you were quiet, strong, and kind. I also remember feeling a pull I didn't understand." Emma laughed lightly. I felt the same, though I tried not to admit it. I had convinced myself that love wasn't for me, that I was meant to be alone. Jack shook his head. "You weren't alone, Emma. You were just waiting for someone who would respect your heart, your pace, and your trust, and I'm grateful every day that you let me in." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She realized that she had not just found love, she had found partnership, understanding, and a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. As night fell, they stayed on the porch, talking quietly about their dreams for the future. Emma shared her hopes for her students, her plans for the school, and her desire to make a difference in the town. Jack spoke of building a life that mattered, not just for himself, but for the people around him. They discovered that their dreams intertwined naturally, and the idea of facing life together felt not only possible, but right. In the days that followed, Emma noticed subtle changes in herself. She laughed more freely, walked with a lighter step, and approached life with a renewed sense of hope. Jack's steady presence had taught her patience, trust, and the value of being present. She realized that love was not just about grand gestures or dramatic moments. It was about being consistent, caring, and fully engaged with another person's heart. One afternoon, Jack surprised Emma with a small picnic in the fields. The sun was warm, the sky clear, and the grass swayed gently in the breeze. They sat together on a blanket, sharing simple food and enjoying the quiet beauty of the world around them. Emma felt a profound sense of peace. She knew that life would have challenges, but with Jack by her side, she felt ready to face them all. As they watched the clouds drift across the sky, Jack took her hand and looked into her eyes. "Emma," he said, "I want us to continue building our life together. I want to be here for you through every moment, every challenge, and every joy." Emma smiled, her heart full. "I want that too," she said. "I trust you, Jack. I believe in us." From that moment, their lives became a seamless blend of love, trust, and partnership. They faced each day together, supporting each other through the challenges of the town, the demands of the ranch, and the small surprises that life brought. Their love was not loud or dramatic. It was steady, patient, and enduring. One evening, after a long day of work, they sat by the fire in Emma's small home. The warmth of the flames mirrored the warmth in their hearts. Jack reached for Emma's hand, holding it gently. "I know life can be unpredictable," he said, "but I promise to always be here, to protect you, support you, and care for you." Emma leaned against him, feeling safe and cherished. "And I promise the same," she said softly. "We'll face everything together." Time passed, and their bond continued to deepen. The town grew accustomed to their quiet partnership, seeing them as a pair who cared deeply for each other and the community. Emma's students thrived, inspired by her renewed energy and joy, while Jack's work on the ranch flourished under his steady hand and determination. One afternoon, while walking through the fields, Emma stopped and looked at Jack. "Do you ever think about the past?" she asked. Jack considered her question. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but the past is what shaped us. It taught me patience, resilience, and the importance of trust, and it brought me to you." Emma felt tears in her eyes. "I used to believe love wasn't for me," she said softly. "But now I know that it is. It was just waiting for the right person, someone who respects and cares for me." Jack smiled and pulled her close. "And I was waiting too," he said. "Waiting for someone like you." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the fields in shades of gold and purple, Emma realized that she had found more than love. She had found partnership, trust, and a sense of home in Jack. The loneliness that had once defined her life was gone, replaced by hope, joy, and the quiet certainty that they would face life together side by side. That night, Emma lay in bed thinking about the journey that had brought her here. From the first unexpected encounter to the moments of trust, laughter, and shared challenge, every step had led her to this moment of clarity and peace. She knew that love wasn't always simple, but with Jack, it was steady, patient, and real. As she drifted to sleep, she felt a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment. She had opened her heart, faced her fears, and allowed herself to believe again. And in doing so, she had found a love that was not fleeting, but enduring. One built on trust, understanding, and the courage to face life together. Jack's hand rested gently on hers, a silent promise of the future they would share. In that quiet moment, Emma knew without doubt that she had finally found the love she had once believed was impossible. And she knew that with Jack by her side, she could face anything the world brought, confident that their hearts were bound together, steady and unbreakable.